Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. Now today we're doing this adorable Highland Cow cake. I'm using an inexpensive piece of equipment and I'm going to show you how to achieve this step by step. Now we have got some buttercream detail on top as well, just using one piping nozzle. This is excellent if you are a beginner baker. Those bows that you can see on the top are from the same mould used for the Highland Cow, and overall just a stunning Christmas cake. We have these amazing snowflakes down the side, and remember, YouTube is now trying to help small channels with something called a hype button. So if you do enjoy this content, please give it a hype below. This is what the cake is going to be finished off and looking like. I just love the Highland Cow. Super easy to achieve, everyone, and I really hope you find it helpful. Let's make a start. We are going to start with the sides of the cake. So I am using the Karen Davis Sugar Snowflakes mould, and just look at all of that beautiful detail. Now the Highland Cow mould is also available from Karen Davis, and she does ship worldwide. So you are able to get both moulds from the same place. This is just how detailed the mould is. It's absolutely stunning. It doesn't matter how deep your cake is. Because the pattern is so busy, you could place this on any sized cake that you wanted to. Start by sprinkling the mould with some icing sugar and then tip out the excess. I then roll out some fondant in between some spaces, and you want it roughly the same size as the actual mould. This will just make it a lot easier. I'm also using the sugar paste. I find that works beautifully with these particular moulds. Now take your time and push down all of that fondant into those details. You want to pick up on all of those snowflakes. So this is not a process that you want to be rushing. When you have pushed it all down, just take a rolling pin, and then I like to go over the fondant and then flip it upside down and go over the back. Once you have done this, place it into the fridge. It will sweat, however, you will have a certain period of time to work with it. It will be lovely and firm. You will not damage it, and it will not lose its shape at all. So this has been left in the fridge. Just look at how firm it actually is. Now you'll notice that I'm doing this on baking paper. This is because the fondant will sweat slightly. It won't sweat as much as it would if it was directly on a cake, simply because it can cool down a lot quicker. But just look at that stunning detail, and it just comes away from the mould flawlessly. If you have covered your cake with a thin layer of fondant like I have here, steam it. This will act like a glue for when we add the snowflakes. However, if you've just added buttercream, that will act as a natural glue. This has come directly out of the mould. You can tell with how firm the fondant actually is. The steam is going to help it stick directly to the cake. However, remember, if your cake is just covered with buttercream, you can just leave it like that. Now, I'm not actually going to trim down the top because it's fondant. As it gradually starts to go a little bit softer, I'm going to be able to push that edge down slightly with my fingers. If there is a big gap on your cake, then obviously you would want to use a very sharp knife just to cut it down. Just look at all of that lovely detail and how quick and easy was it to actually achieve. Now you're going to need one full piece and part of another piece. All I did was measure the gap and then cut it down off camera. Remember, it's lovely and firm because it's come directly out of the fridge. So it's really easy to work with. And then I just stick them in place. I have steamed the cake again. But obviously, if you are using buttercream, this is not necessary. I then just meet up those little gaps. I personally think it looks fine like this. However, if you're wanting to add just a few snowflakes where it actually meets, if you look at the mould on the side, There are some extra snowflakes so you can hide the gaps from where they meet to where they finish. But overall, absolutely stunning. I'm now going to show you how to pipe that lovely wreath on the top. Here we are using piping tip 4B, however something like the 2D would work in a similar way, just give a different effect. You want to make sure your piping bag is half full. In order to colour my buttercream this shade of green, I have used a Wilton leaf green food colouring, and you can find my buttercream recipe that's perfect for piping in the description below this video. Try to keep the squeezing consistent. You will be able to pipe all the way around without having to stop like I just have for the camera. I'm needing to make certain that all of this is in view, so yours will be even more flawless. But you want to just go around in a circular motion, keeping that squeezing on the piping bag consistent. It's not about speed. Just like with a rosette, it's about taking your time. If you do need to stop like I am doing here, we can just add a sprinkle or a bow to that section. But how simple was that to achieve? So let's move on to the bows and the Highland Cow. For this, I'm using the new Karen Davis mould, and it has 3 different sized Highland cows on there. For this particular content, we are going to be using the larger of the 3. Just like we did with the previous mould, add a sprinkling of icing sugar and tap out any excess. I then used Chestnut by Sugar Flare in order to get a very light shade of brown. So all I did was colour a small amount of the sugar paste with the Chestnut Sugar Flare, and just look at that lovely stunning colour it gives you. I then push a small amount of the sugar paste where the mouth of the Highland Cow is and also the horns. I then used Chocolate by The Colour Mill to colour some more of my sugar paste. Using some edible glue, just go over the elements that you have just added, just a very, very tiny amount. This will help prevent things from moving when we add the next colour. This is the colour you will have if you've used Chocolate by Colour Mill. Again, I am still using the sugar paste. And all you want to do then is push this directly into the mould to pick up all of that wonderful detail. Remember to place this in the fridge. It will make it so much easier for us to release it from the mould without accidental damage. So this has been left in the fridge. Obviously, it's very easy to take away the mould. It does not distort. It will sweat slightly, but just look at how detailed it actually is. We're now going to paint on the eyes. I then decide to use a ready-made edible food paint. This is by Colour Splash, and it's just as it is seen in the footage here. With a very fine brush, there will be 2 indentations in your actual mould where you can just paint the eyes. They're not difficult to see when you're looking at it from my angle, and I'm going to turn this round now just so you can see how cute it really is. For the bows, I actually use Renshaw's fondant. It's pre-coloured. I place it directly into the mould. I have treated the mould as I did before with a small amount of icing sugar. But due to the bow being very, very small, it is extremely easy to get out. And it doesn't matter if it does distort slightly. So I do not place this into the fridge. I simply add the amount of fondant I need and take them out as we go along. I then add the bows directly to my buttercream wreath that's been freshly piped, so the buttercream's still soft, before adding sprinkles. However, if you don't want to add sprinkles, you could simply pipe different coloured balls of fondant. This way it's all going to be buttercream apart from the bow. You then just want a large round piping nozzle. This is just to pipe a blob of buttercream in the centre of the wreath, so you could always cut off the end of a piping bag if you do not have a large round nozzle in your collection. The reason I have done this is so that the Highland Cow has some support behind it. It's now level with the wreath that's gone around the outside. I've added a few extra bows, an extra bow to the Highland Cow. Just get creative with this, but it's really simple and really easy to make. Now, thanks to those moulds, just how easy was that to create? The most complex part, I suppose, was the piping, but it's a very, very simple way to pipe a cupcake wreath. Very detailed. It would look stunning as a centerpiece on your Christmas table, but because they are very easy to make and don't take up much of your time, thanks to the moulds saving you time, they are a great idea to add to your portfolio in preparation for your Christmas cakes. Happy baking, everyone. I really do hope I've helped you again today, and I'll be back soon with an awful lot more new, completely free content.